Hello, Happy New Year. I'm going to give this a minute to pop up on YouTube. How is everybody? This is going to be fun. Here we go. Hello. Hi, Malka. How are you? Happy New Year's, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I know I just saw you last night, but this is going to be a fun live stream. I even have a slideshow for you. Hello. I'm trying out a new feature on StreamYard, so you can actually have nice graphics for this. So this should be fun. Hi, Renee. How's everybody today? Okay, so tonight, we're going to talk about my favorite books of 2021 that I read in 2021. So this does include backlist titles. Yes, a slideshow should be exciting. Hello. Happy 2022. Hi. Watching from work. Okay. Hey. Hello. Yeah, so this should be fun. So we're going to talk about my favorite books that I read in 2021. Some of them were published in 2021, some of them were not. And I know some people are doing like a top 10 list. I am not. I'm talking about all the books that I gave 6 stars to. And my personal rating scale, 6 stars is what I give to a favorite of the year. For reference, well, you'll see this in the stats. I have stats for you. Of course I have stats for you. It's going to be fun. Hey, Beth. Hello. Hi. Oh, yay. So many people here. This is exciting. Hi, Amanda. Hey, Kara. Yay. Christine. Hey, Happy New Year. All right. So we're going to get started. I have stats for you, and then we're going to get into all of my favorite books. And then just so you know, I am today kicking off a week of daily content. So I know some people did Vlogmas. Instead, I am doing daily videos for the first week of January. So that's something exciting to look forward to. This is the first installment of that, but you're going to be getting things. So today is all my sort of general favorites books, and then you're going to be getting my best of lists in particular categories. You're going to get like YA, mystery thriller, horror, fantasy, etc. So it'll be fun. Yay. Oh, we've got more people coming in. Love stats. Yay. I love you, my people here who also appreciate the stats. Hi, Jessica. Hey, Rosie. Hello. 2 a.m. Whew. That is commitment. Hello. Hi. This is so exciting. Yes, daily content for a week. Should be fun. Thank you. I finally got some new ones like a few months ago. I needed it. It is hard to limit yourself to 10 books, as you will see, especially with how much I read. Okay, so here we go. Look, I have a fancy slideshow for you. It's very exciting. Okay, so this year I read 402 books, which is the most I have ever read. We all know I read a lot, but this was a lot. Out of that, 29 books got 6 stars from me, which is what I give to a favorite of the year, which is 7.2%, as you can see in this lovely graphic that is a breakdown of my ratings, which I will probably use again when I do my giant stats video for the whole year. So that'll be fun. So let's take a look at the stats of some of my favorites, shall we? So a lot of adults, which isn't shocking. Most of what I read this year was adult. Most of my favorites were. 83% of my favorites were adult titles. 17% were YA. A lot of them were audiobooks, and I've listened to a lot of audiobooks this year. So 41% of these were audio. 20% of them were ARCs, advanced review copies. 14% were hardcover. 10% were trade paperback, and then kind of a mix of other things. Yeah, slideshows and stats. I'm so glad. This is probably more fun than most work presentations. 32% of my favorites were from debut authors, which is interesting. And then the line graph is the page count. So there's a big variation. There's like one that had very low pages and one that got to like 700 something pages. So you got a wide range of page counts. The average seems to be around that 400 page mark. And then when we look at the genres, which is the bigger piece of it, honestly, I was surprised at how diverse in terms of genre this grouping was. I didn't necessarily expect it. 24% of these books are fantasy. That part's not necessarily surprising, although I might have expected it to be bigger. But then the next biggest category is literary fiction. Well, literary fiction and sci-fi are both almost 14%, which is really interesting to me because I don't always think of myself as reading a lot of literary fiction, but when I find ones I love, I really love them. And I read quite a few good ones this year. And then we have kind of a mix. Contemporary romance took a big chunk here. Kind of a big mix of genres in the books that ended up making my favorites list, which I think is interesting. Yes, we have pictures and pie charts. I love pie charts too. Just wait, I'm going to have like a giant stats video for the entire year. It's going to be fun, and I'll nerd out with those of you who like that kind of thing. Okay, publication dates. The earliest published book that made my favorites list was from 1848. That one I think is probably Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. 4 of these were published in the 1900s, and then we jump ahead to 2019. I had 4 2019 releases, 5 from 2020, 14 from 2021, and 1 2022. So, yeah. Oh, good. This is loving the slides. I appreciate it. I might do this again in the future. This was kind of fun to put together this afternoon, so I'm glad you like them. Hey, Ashley, how's it going? And then 55% of my favorites are books that I had for review, which again isn't shocking. I think a little over half of what I read in general this year was books that I had for review, so not super shocking that a good chunk of these would make it on my favorites list. Okay, let's look at author demographics. This is kind of cool. So we've got race and ethnicity. About 45% of these are by white authors, and then like 34.5% are by Black authors. So more than 50% are from authors of color, which is great because I've been aiming to read about half of my reading this year from Black, Indigenous, and person of color authors. And I think you're seeing reflected in the books that made my favorites list that that's what it looks like. One thing I did think was really interesting is that I had a lot of these books by queer authors, people who publicly identify as LGBTQ+, which I think is interesting. Almost 45% of my favorites books were by queer authors, which I aim to read about 25%. So that I just thought was interesting. And then in terms of gender, I'm not shocked. 90% of these are by female authors, 7% by male, and 3% by non-binary. So I do read predominantly female authors, but I thought it was interesting to look at this. Also, I'm glad your energy is better, Ashley. I hope you get better soon. Yes, I bring graphs and stats. It's fun for me. I'm glad some of you all like it. All right. Let's see. What do we have next? Okay, so here we go. So we're going to get into all of them. I did put them in order. I wanted to talk about a few honorable mentions. These are some books that I really loved this year that didn't quite make my favorites list, but came close, and I just wanted to shout out a few of them. So you can see My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I really loved Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I thought was fantastic. Summer Suns by Leah Mandello. I loved. It is a polarizing book. People love it or hate it, which is also true of some of my favorite books. So as you'll see, I have some polarizing faves, and this was one of them. And then They'll Never Catch Us by Jessica Goodman, I also thought was amazing. So just kind of wanted to mention these because they were ones that came really close to hitting this list and are worth your time, in my opinion. Okay, so I sort of put these in order, and we're going to go count down to 1. This is not a perfect list. It was a lot of books to put in order. So, I did my best. And keep in mind that this is a lot of it pulling on how these books affected me emotionally, how much they've stayed with me for books that I read earlier in the year. All of those things I was kind of taking into consideration when I ranked them. Oh, good. Summer Suns was top there. I'm glad you liked it. I really liked it a lot. Yes, it's a good cover, and it's a great book. I thought this was a really, really top-notch YA thriller, I've got to say. So, yes, Beth, please try again with them. They're both wonderful authors. You just didn't have great ones. All right, here we go. Let's go to the books. Starting at number 29, we have a graphic novel, and I actually have two graphic novels on this list, which is I think is kind of cool. One of them is a comic. This one is a graphic novel. This one is nonfiction, Amazon's Abolitionists and Activists, A Graphic History of Women's Fight for Their Rights by Mickey Kendall and Ada Amico. I really loved this. I thought it was a great kind of big picture overview of a lot of major women throughout history who have been really important. And I think one issue that some people had with this book is that it doesn't necessarily do a deep dive into them, and instead does kind of a high level view of many people. But I like it as a jumping off point into researching a lot of interesting women that you might not otherwise talk about. I loved this. I loved the art. I thought this was fantastic. At number 28 is one of my controversial ones, The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. This is one people kind of love or hate. I really liked it a lot. I think it's very interesting. It's a piece of literary horror that's very slow paced and quiet, and has a polarizing ending. Like, it's I think it's doing some interesting things. I can't talk that much about it without spoiling it, but I was a fan. Yes, Rosie, add some. Number 27 is a book I haven't really seen anybody else talk about, Her Wicked Marquess by Stacey Reed. This is a hard-hitting historical romance. This is not light and fluffy. It deals with some pretty intense topics. It deals with things like privilege and rape culture, and but it's so good. It's so good. So, kind of check your content warnings if you're going to dive into this one, but I just thought it was incredible, and I haven't really seen anyone else talk about it. So it made my list of favorite books and favorite romances I read this year. Number 26 is one that I feel like I haven't talked much about. I read this at the very beginning of the year. This is Return of the Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. It is the final book in the Queen's Thief series, and it is so good. This, like, one of the best conclusions to a series that I've read. I think she nailed it. And if you haven't read this series, I highly recommend it. I think these are incredible. They are YA fantasy that's really smart and feels very much like a bridge into adult political fantasy, but written in a shorter form, more digestible for a younger audience. It's really good. A readathon. I mean, if people wanted to do something like that, that could be fun. I mean, if enough people were interested, I could put something together. Yes, Kara, you should totally continue it. It's great. And Return of the Thief is amazing. It's a fantastic conclusion. They're quick reads too, and the audiobooks are fantastic. The audio narrators are really good. Number 25 for me was Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. This I read for a vlog project and didn't necessarily expect a ton out of it, and I loved it. It was so fast paced. I couldn't put it down. I read it all in one day, and man, it's another one that is a quick read, but definitely has a lot of social commentary on, like, race relations and complicated relationships. It's really, really good. And I can see why so many people loved it. It had to be on this list for sure. Yes, great book. Number 24 is another romance fave of mine from an author who is starting to get a little bit more buzz, but I would love to see more people read from her because she's amazing. This is Careless Whispers by Sunithia Williams. I love this entire series, the Jackson Falls series, but this is my favorite book in it. I had been reading the first couple books and had been waiting for this book because the heroine in this was a side character. She's a prickly heroine, which you all know is like my favorite, and it's a enemies to lovers with a secret relationship thing, and it gave me everything that I was hoping for. These are so good. If you like soapy family drama with your romance, with like steamy romance, the series will give you everything. It follows an elite Black family in the South, and there's lots of messiness and politics, and I just love them. They're really great. It is okay. Look, it is dramatic, which I will say. It's soapy, it's melodramatic, but they're so much fun. If you can just like, if you like that, or if you can go with it, they will give you that vibe. Okay. Oh, what did I do? Oh no. Okay, I must have messed something up on my slides. So let me pull up my other spreadsheet so I can make sure I'm sorry. I must have messed something up here because I had to like change some things and then apparently I left Such a Fun Age and left something else off. So what did I miss? This is the problem with not editing things and doing them live. Do you have technical difficulties? Where is, oh no, what did I do? Hold on. Okay. I think, okay, so I know what this is. This should be, I liked it enough to put it in twice. There you go. So this should be Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I don't know why it didn't save. I really hope all the rest of them are right. So I should keep my list handy in case something is messed up. But yeah, this should be Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which is another nonfiction book. This is her talking about her experience as a victim of SA and going through a trial for that like very publicly. It's incredible. It is hard hitting and difficult, but she, like, I mean, oh man, it's just incredible. So well worth reading. If you haven't picked it up, be in the right headspace, but it's very, very good and incisive and addresses things that I think are really, really important. So that should be number 23. Number 22 is Malice by Heather Walter. Another one people have kind of like mixed feelings on, but I really liked it a lot. This is a queer reimagining of Sleeping Beauty, where the kind of like evil sorceress falls in love with the princess, sort of. And I loved it. I loved it. And the ending blew my mind. Cannot wait to see what she's going to do in the second book in the duology. I thought it was great. Yes, Know My Name was incredibly well written. Absolutely. I would read more from her. She's such a good, she's a very good author. Number 21 is Witch Shadow by Susan Dennard. I love the Witchland series, and this might be my favorite book in the series. It's a toss-up between this and my other favorite, but so many revelations happened. We learned so many things about the world, about the characters, and reading this book made me really excited. Coming up on the last book, hopefully next year, maybe whenever we get it, to do a reread of all of the books, because the kind of writer she is, she leaves Easter eggs that make it really fun to reread her books, where suddenly things that you maybe glossed over or didn't notice on a first read make a lot more sense knowing what you know later in the series. So I loved this installment. I'm excited to go back and reread. I do like villain origin stories. I do. I'm a fan. They're a lot of fun. Yes, Witch Shadow was great. It's one of the best in the series, I think. Yeah, Know My Name is well worth it. Okay, let's hope that the rest of these did what they're supposed to do. Okay. Number 20 is one of the ones that I read in December. This is The Christmas Escape by Sarah Morgan. I love Sarah Morgan. Her Christmas novels are an auto-buy for me. I buy them without really reading what they're about because I always love them. They kind of straddle romance and women's fiction, and I just love the way she writes characters. I think she writes characters and family relationships and character growth arcs so incredibly well. This one also made me cry, partly I think because some of the themes it was talking about really related to things that I was dealing with personally, but I loved this. I always love her books, and it was one of my favorite things I read. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you read something from her. I think she's awesome. Number 19 is one that I don't know that a lot of other people have read, even though I've tried to push it on people. How to Stay by Christina Mitchell. This is a debut self-published romance and was by far the best thing that I read judging the Vivians. You know, if you guys saw my lengthy vlog of the 6 months I spent judging for that, where I couldn't talk about any of the books I was reading till like the winner was announced. I had a lot of 1 stars and 2 stars. I had a lot of books I didn't like, but this book I loved. It was so good. It is a very hard-hitting book. I'm finding that like I can like a hard-hitting romance that deals with difficult issues. This is another one that probably this is another one that made me cry, but I just loved it. I loved the relationship. It's really two broken people trying to find healing and love together. And I just thought it was really beautiful and would love to see more people pick it up. And I hope we get more from her in the future. Number 18 is The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. And I loved this. I read this for a vlog project that I did where I read Mara from Books Like Woe's favorite books, the ones of them that I hadn't read, because we have a lot of crossover in our favorites. And I got like two of the books you'll see on this list, including one closer to the top, were books I read from that video, and I just thought this was so beautiful. It is very quiet and slow paced. It's one of these ones where if it's not your thing, you're probably going to think it's boring, but I thought it was really, really lovely. It's just this like quiet sort of guy at the end of his life reflecting on whether there was meaning in his life, and I don't know. I loved it. It made me feel a lot of things, and it's not very long. I was a fan. I mean, why not? It's if you want a reflective, kind of beautiful reflective book, I think it's a good one. There's a reason I think he's been a prize winner. Yeah, I this is another one that I think people are kind of mixed on, but it really worked for me, and I liked it a lot. All right, number 17 was She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. This is a YA romance, and I loved this. This is another one I think I've been trying to push on a lot of people this year. This, to me, does exactly what I want a YA romance to do. It is, I mean, like, it's fun, but it's also dealing with real issues. It's exploring first love and first relationships and like the complications of communication and what you bring to the table. And it doesn't try to make it like we're going to be together forever. It's more, I think realistically for high school, kind of like we're this is a good relationship for now and we're learning and growing together through it. And it was cute and I loved it. Yes. Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of people read it either, and I just thought it was fantastic. One of the best YA romances I've read, as far as at least what I think a YA romance should be doing. It was great. Um, yes, Indian queer female character, which I thought was cool. They're kind of opposites. One is a basketball player who recently broke up with or was broken up with by her toxic girlfriend, who she was kind of her first love, and then cheerleader, and they're like fake dating, enemies to lovers. It was great. I love it. Oh, good. Yes, read it. It's really, really fantastic. Oh, I'm glad you liked the Stacey Reid one. Yeah, I thought it was a really fantastic romance. Yeah, Remains of the Day, again, hit and miss for people, but I was a fan. Number 16 is Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jesse. And this is one that was picked for me. I had a thing where small booktubers picked books for me to read for a reading vlog. I love how these projects will get me to read outside my comfort zone. And then sometimes I have these amazing books come out of it. And this was definitely one of them. Laura from A Book Circus picked this one for me. And sorry, I got a bot in here. There we go. I thought this was amazing. It's literary fiction, and I think for me especially it really resonated being kind of a former evangelical, because I think this gets a lot into things that I have personal experience with, and I don't know. I really loved it. I thought the writing was so beautiful. Oh, good. Yeah. The writing was beautiful. I would definitely read more from her in the future. And I don't know that I would have picked it up anytime soon if it wasn't for the video project. So I need to read Homegoing. I mean, that's good to hear. Yeah, this is the only one I've read from her so far, but I really loved it. And then number 15 is The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zareta Cordova. I loved this so much, and I'm really, really happy about it because like you never know for sure. This was Zareta Cordova's adult debut, at least for this kind of thing. It's sort of a literary fantasy that is magical realism. I just thought it was beautiful. The writing was beautiful. I loved everything that she was doing with it. And, another kind of like thoughtful, slow-paced book, but I was a fan. This kind of knocked it out of the park for me. So, yeah. Oh, good, good, good. I'm so I'm glad people are picking these up. Number 14 is another polarizing one. Ashley, I know you hated this book, but I loved it. Okay, Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. It's a weird book, and I understand why it is not everybody's cup of tea. But it is a gothic kind of horror novel that is kind of trippy. I was such a fan of this. I really, really loved it. And one thing that I think is interesting about it is if you've read this, go. I know you hated it. I know this was not your thing. It was so my thing though. But if you've read Catherine House, go research it because it is a retelling of something. And I don't want to say what it's retelling because I feel like you should go in not knowing this. But after you've read it, go see what it's retelling because I think it's really interesting what she's doing with it. But I loved it. I'm glad some other people are with me. Loved Catherine House. People like love it or hate it. It's just one of those books. Yay, loved Orquídea Divina. That's awesome. Yes, I think I listened to Catherine House also, and the audio was fantastic. I agree. All the Fields, yeah, I love. Okay, this year has cemented for me that Olivia Dade is a new favorite author. Last year, one of her books was on my favorites list. This year, All the Fields is on my favorites list. I love her books. I love the way she does characters. Her humor really works for me. Her romances work for me. I love her fat representation. Yes, all of it. Like everything that I've read from her has been fantastic. So, yeah. Okay, good. Someone else enjoyed it. Yeah, read it and try it. I think it's a really interesting one. You might hate it, but you might love it, you know? Okay. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, I could see that. Yeah. I read along with the audiobook, which I liked. So, yes, Ashley, I'm so excited. All the Feels is great. Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this because it is really polarizing. I kind of think part of it is because the heroine is plain, which I love. We don't get a plain fat heroine very often. And I think a lot of people didn't like the fact that she doesn't let you forget that she's not pretty, which is kind of the point of what she's trying to do. But like reading some of the reviews, I think a lot of people didn't like that, which is interesting. If you ever watch find my wrap up where I talk about this, I go off on a whole thing about it. Oh, good. All the Feels in your top 10. I love it. Hey, Brie. I hope you're feeling better. It is cute. These are great. Yes, more plain love interests. I mean, look, this is the thing. Like, plain people find love and are happy. Like, they should be protagonists too. Yeah. Heather, I know you hate the cartoon cover romances, but these are really good. It's fine. It's fine. Do what you need to do. Yes, read it and see what you think. It's an interesting one. All right, number 12 is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I really love this. This was on my classics TBR for the year, and I had never read it, didn't really know much about it, and I think it's really underappreciated. It's such a good book and feels very relevant in some interesting ways to things today. This is a book that deals with, I don't know, like I guess I feel like it's been out long enough that I would want to talk about the themes without thinking it's spoilery, kind of, even though like the setup you could read it that way, but it deals with like abusive relationships, and I just loved it. I thought it was beautiful. The writing was so good. It was fantastic. I mean, fair. That's also a way to do it. Yep. Tenant. Oh yeah, Beth. Thank you. Actually, so this was on my classics TBR, but then Beth had the patron pick for that month and wanted me to read it. And so thank you. I'm glad that I finally got to it because I did really love it. I'd forgotten about that. Oh, good. I'm so glad people are finding things. Yes, I think this is a really good classic to read. I think it's pretty accessible. And again, it does still feel really relevant with a lot of the topics it's getting into. So yay. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, try them. I think the Brontes are great. All right. Number 11, Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. I just adored this. This is a sci-fi romance. It's like equal parts sci-fi and romance, which like some people don't really like. It's got a murder mystery. It's got a political arranged marriage. It's got opposites, two men in an arranged marriage who fall for each other, and I just loved it. This made me so happy. I read it all in like a couple of days, and yeah, this was like everything that I wanted it to be. So I was a fan. I read this one early and like told everybody that they should that they should also read it. I think it's great. Yay! Loved Winter's Orbit. I'm so glad. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so happy people have been picking it up and reading it because I think it's fantastic. Michael, you should try it. It's really good. It is heavy on the romance, so like know that going in. It's like half romance, half political sci-fi stuff, but try it. I think it's really good. Yay, just got it. That's so exciting. Hey Isabella. Yes. Ah, I love it. I love to see people picking it up. That makes me so happy. Okay, number 10. This is I read this yesterday. I finished it yesterday, and it's making it on my favorites list. And this is why I don't finish my list until January, because you never know. Far Sector by N.K. Jemisin is a bind up of is like I think a 9-issue comic series. I freaking loved it. N.K. Jemisin is one of my favorite authors, and this, oh my gosh, this was so good. Like the level of world building and character development, amazing plot that happens, a really fresh take on Green Lantern. The artwork is incredible as well. Like the collaboration is amazing, and the way that the art is done really adds to the world building and the character development. This just, I had no complaints. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. So yes, N.K. Jemisin can probably do anything, and I will read it and love it. So this had to make my top 10, which is exciting. Oh yeah. Okay, so also if anybody wants to read this, Ashley, let me know when you guys are reading it. But they've picked this, if you're interested, for their comic club. Ashley and Bree, who are both in here. So Ashley, if you have that information, stick it in the chat so people can pick it up. Yes, I don't know if this is about Winter's Orbit, but I agree with that. Also, Far Sector too. Other thing that's cool is it's a take on Green Lantern, where this Black woman from Brooklyn is a lantern. She is bisexual and has 2 love interests in it. Like it's great. It's great. Yeah, this is what she's been doing this year. This is why we didn't get a book from her in 2022. We got Far Sector, and it's phenomenal. Okay, awesome. Yeah, let me know what the month is so people can read it. I think it's really, really good. I don't think it's for this upcoming month. I think they're doing Persepolis, if I'm not mistaken, but I know it's one that they're going to be doing at some point. Look, no, I want her to keep writing books too, but if she wants to keep writing some comics, I will take it for sure. Number 9 is my only 2022 release on this. It's coming out in January though, so I don't feel too bad putting it on this list. This is Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shauna McGuire. I think this is one of the best installments in the Wayward Children series. I have loved the entire series, but this was really good. It opens up the world in some really interesting ways. It brings in kind of the dark twin of the School for Wayward Children, which is interesting. And this is a book that also deals quite heavily with fat phobia, and I think nails the way that it does it. I just loved it. This is one of my favorite installments in a series that I love in general. Try her. She's great. And these are novellas. They're very short. They're like a couple hundred pages, less than a couple hundred pages long. So really good. Is it a standalone? I don't know if this is about Far Sector. Far Sector is a standalone. It's for DC Comics, and it's like a take on Green Lantern, but you can read it even if you're not a big comics person. I think you could jump into it for sure. The Shauna McGuire series, So some of the books you need to read in order, but some of them you can read whenever. You do need to read the first book first. Maybe at some point I'll do a whole video on the series and like reading orders that you can do, because some of them are sequential and some of them are not, but you can read them in order. Far Sector is February. So if you guys want to pick it up in February and read it with Brie and Ashley, it's great. Yes, thank you. Where the Drowned Girls Go comes out on Tuesday, so it's coming out very soon. It's fantastic. Is Where the Drowned Girls Go standalone? No. So Where the Drowned Girls Go is like a sequential book in the Wayward Children series. And one thing that's interesting is it actually ties into the last book in the series, Across the Green Grass Fields. So the character from that book shows up in this book, which is fun. Yes, it's great. It's great. Read them. Yay. Yeah, I mean, not everybody loves them. It is one of my favorites, but I do think this is a very, very strong installment in it. So, okay, yeah, this one you probably need to have read some of the more recent ones. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, I'll see about that. I've thought about doing a video about that series at some point, so maybe I'll make that happen. All right, next slide. Number 8, Iron Widow by Sharon J. Zhao. This book was so good. Another one I read in December. I just loved this. This was so my deal. It is a debut novel, really impressive. It's YA sci-fi that is also drawing on ancient Chinese history, loosely retelling the story of the only Chinese empress. So it's got a very prickly, morally gray female character, which I like. It's kind of like take down the patriarchy, which is I like. It's fun. It's got these like mecha robots that they're piloting. It gets dark, especially for YA, and it's polyamorous. There is a love triangle where they're all bisexual and they all just kind of like get together, and it's great, and it deconstructs gender as a social construct. I had zero complaints. I loved it. I thought it was, and it was fun. I didn't want to put it down. Very fast-paced, easy to read. Yes, Ashley, you should read it. It's great. It's really, really good. Yay. Oh no, Iron Widow's the first one you've read. Okay, it's a really good one. Yeah. God, I'm so glad. I love that people are reading it. It is really interesting. I was a fan. Yes, Jasmine Throne is a good one. Yay, Iron Widow in top 10. It's a really good one. I just love too that nobody wanted to publish it. She got a Canadian publisher, and now she's a New York Times. No one wanted to publish it. They got a Canadian publisher. Now they're a New York Times bestselling author, and I just think that's amazing. Number 7, I guess people have mixed feelings on this one, but Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyamide. I thought this was really good. It was pitched as Get Out meets Gossip Girl, which I feel like is fairly accurate. It's kind of got both of those vibes, and I loved it. This is another one that I couldn't put down. I thought it was really, really interesting the direction it took. It did read like, it did kind of read like a movie. Such a page turner. Another one where you have 2 main characters, both of them are bisexual, and the only Black kids in their elite private school. One thing to know about this is that while it's supposed to be set in the United States, the author is British, and I think you can kind of tell, and I think that bothered some people because they're like, this doesn't feel American. Well, it's because the author is not American, but I just kind of like loosely imagined it as whatever. But I really, really loved it. I thought it was great. Oh, good. I know a couple people who weren't big fans, but I thought it was great. Yeah, I couldn't put it down. Michael, try it. I think it's a lot of fun. It is a quick read. It's a very quick read. Yes, finished Ace of Spades yesterday. I love it. Number 6 is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I will probably read anything Tasha Suri writes. I really, really love her books, and I thought this was great. I will say this is very different from her earlier books, which not everybody was expecting. Her earlier books were much more heavily fantasy romance, whereas this is kind of epic political fantasy with a romantic subplot. So it is different, but it is still sapphic. It has really interesting world building, a lot of like political machinations going on, and I loved it. Can't wait for the next book to come out next year. Definitely going to be picking it up. I'll read whatever she decides to put out because I think her writing is incredible. Really, really love it. Oh no. Yeah, see, this is the thing. Like people, there are some people who didn't like this one. So yeah, it's slower pacing. I mean, it reads like a typical adult fantasy. So, you have to kind of know what you're in for. It's not a page. I mean, it's not fast paced. It takes its time, and I don't mind that. I enjoyed living in the world, and I think for people who like that genre, it's great. But yeah, uh, yes, kinda. I guess that is kind of true. I don't know, Kara. Maybe try it. I don't think it's that extreme, but there's a little bit. It depends on how sensitive you are to it. Um, yes, I loved it too. That was great. Yeah, yeah. I know she has some strong feelings about it, which I think is interesting. Yeah. Um, all right. Okay, number 5. This is another controversial one, but this one meant a lot to me personally, and so it is pretty high on it. A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is not a book that I necessarily expected to really love. I generally enjoy her books, but they're not often favorites for me. And the Court of Thorns and Roses series in particular, I like I enjoy them, but I not love. Um, this book just really hit me. I think Nesta's journey. We have a prickly heroine. We have somebody who's been through a lot of trauma, who is trying to heal from it, and it's a book that made me cry, which doesn't happen very often, and just really moved me personally. And I've talked about this book a lot this year, so I'm not going to talk about it more, but yeah, I really, really loved it. It is interesting. It's for sure a pivot of Sarah J. Maas being like, I am now an adult romance author. It's very, very steamy, much more so than her other books. Not everybody liked it. I think if you're going to this, if you're reading this as a fantasy, it's not great. Like the fantasy plot elements aren't great, but I really loved it as a character study and as a romance. So that's why it's on my list. Yes, body horror for the Jasmine Throne. Okay, thank you. This is helpful. It's not that extreme. I don't think the body horror part. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Jess hated it, which is fine, but I really loved it. Yeah, Isabella, you and me, we liked it a lot. Jessica, look, people have very, very, very strong feelings. Um, look, I did too, Marina. That sex scene, that like late one, I just thought it was so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, yes, I'm with you. I thought it was beautiful. Okay, I I love this book, but it's fine. I know a lot of people are not fans. I really like House of Earth and Blood also, but this book just really worked for me. So, yep. Uh, Book number 4 on my list is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I finally got through the Lord of the Rings series this year. Normally, I don't put rereads on my favorites list, but this one I hadn't read since I was like 15, and I'm 34, so I figure it's been long enough. I loved it. I liked it reasonably well as a teenager, but I just absolutely loved it. I liked the whole series, loved the whole series a lot, but this one was my personal favorite. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect to fall in love with it as much as I did. We did live shows for all 3 of the books, and it was so much fun. And I'm really, really, really happy that I read them. It was great. Yes. It was fun. I'm so and I feel like as a fantasy reader, I needed to say that I'd read the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was a lack in my reading, so now I finally have, which is exciting. All the Tolkien, yes. Look, comparatively speaking, she did, but yes, Tolkien. I love it. Yeah, and Kara joined me for those. That was really fun. I'm so, so glad. Um, yes, this was such a comfort read. I loved it so much. Especially this year. I feel like it was a really good book to read this year in particular in 2021. Um, yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah, it was such a fun read along. And Jessica, I love that you and your mom did all these read alongs with us this year. It was really that was cool. It was cool. They really hold up. Like there's a reason they're classics. I think they're really good. This is how I felt, Selma. This is why I wanted to read them, and I'm happy that I did. All right, number 3, and I decided to put this is my top 2021 release. A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine. This is another kind of polarizing one, I guess. Like people are um here and there with it, but I really, really love this. I liked A Memory Called Empire a lot last year, but I had a couple of quibbles with it, and this book for me totally fixed the issues I had with it. It's multi-POV instead of single POV, which I liked a lot better, and I just thought the themes this was exploring were so interesting about what we do with alien contact and like whether we make war or peace. I loved it. I really, really would love to see more books from her in this world. I know it's just a duology, but I'm really hoping she'll write some more in this world because I thought this was incredible. So I'm sure you're not the only one, but it's fine. Thanks, Kara. It's okay. I've kind of gotten used to it. I feel like being on BookTube, and especially because I do love so many polarizing books, it's fine. It's fine. People like what they like. It's all good. Yes, I think this is true. Yes, Desolation Called Peace in top 10. I love it. I thought it was so well done. Um, yeah, I understood what you meant. Yes. Yes, it's such a good sequel. I really do hope she continues in this world because I think it's really good political sci-fi. It's really interesting. Um, all right, so we're on to my top 2 books for the year. This was hard to put together and like could have gone some different ways, but I'm pretty happy with how this ended up. Coming in at number 2 is The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. We've got 2 classics in my top 2 spaces, which is exciting. This one is another one that I read for that video project where I read Mara's favorite books, and I loved this. This is literary horror. It's short stories that are mostly reimagining um, uh, like fairy tales and classic stories. And I thought the writing was so good and interesting, subversive, often darkly feminist. I really loved these, and I would like to revisit them and reread them again at some point. Um, and then at my number 1 spot is a nonfiction pick. This is Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. I don't know how I got this far in my life without having read from Audre Lorde, but this was my first time, and I loved it. It's not a very long book, but I took an entire month to get through this book and just kind of savored it a little bit each day and read it closely and tabbed it, and it's just so good and so brilliant, and I can see why it's a classic in the genre. I can see why so many people reference her work, and there were a lot of ideas that I've seen in other later feminist books that I had never read from her particularly, and I'm so glad that I finally did. So that had to be my top spot for this year. So I thought it was well worth the read, and I'm glad I picked it up. So yeah. Um Absolutely loved The Bloody Chamber. Yes, I think it's really good. Have read 1 out of my favorites. It's okay. I feel like a lot of the things that I love end up being like not the biggest ones everybody's always talking about. Know My Name is on here. I just like it just got messed up in the photos. It was earlier on the list. It was. Um Yeah, give it a try. It is dark and it's very like, content warnings for things, but I really loved it a lot. I thought it was great. Um, yes, thank you. No, my name was number 23. Yeah. Okay, I love we're talking about this. So yeah, there you go. Those are, oh, we did good. We're at like 49 minutes. I was hoping to keep this around an hour, so like I'm very pleased that this worked out. Those are my favorite books that I read this year. There were a lot of really good ones, and I am so excited for all of these best of videos that I've got coming for you all throughout January. You're going to be getting a ton of end of year content from me. This is one of my favorite times of year, so you're going to get lots of fun lists and books that I've read, but these were my personal favorites that I really loved. So thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me. This was fun. And I hope you found some new books to try. Yes. Her books get pretty dark. Her stories get pretty dark at times. Thank you. Um, okay, fair. Yeah, it's a shorter one. Yes, First Law. I'm really excited. So Leanna and I, for the podcast we co-host, Chapter 3 podcast, are reading all of the First Law books in 2022, starting with The Blade itself this month. So if you want to join us over there, it's always linked in the video descriptions. That'll be really fun. We are also going to be reading the Sort of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. So that live show will be on my channel at the end of the month, which will be fun. So there's lots of exciting stuff happening for 2022, which I'm looking forward to. And again, I'll have like daily content for the next week. Only read one of the books. Okay, I love it. I'm glad people have found so many things. Thanks everybody. Hope you have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your New Year's. Yes, First Law is happening. Join us. Yes, I can actually tell you when it's coming out. Hold on, let me look at my calendar. So yeah, the First Law, the Blade itself episode will be coming out on the 25th. Patrons for the podcast will get it a little early on the 21st. They get it the Friday before. But yeah, the 25th, so it'll be towards the end of the month. We're recording it early, but that's when it'll be released. So yes, should be fun. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your New Year's, and I will see you later. Bye.